welcome to the Show the Art podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Woo!
Cool, man. Thanks for having me, guys. Repping New Jersey.
That's right.
Yup.
So-
Jersey show.
So Zach, please tell us your story. I read your bio, but not everyone has. Like, where did you come from? What really got you into the fitness world? Where are your roots in the strength and fitness world?
Yeah, what planet did you come from? Because you look like you eat planets.
Shit. I wish I looked that way. Now they're going to we were just saying that nobody uses Google. Now they're going to Google search and be like, this guy does not look like he eats planets. So, yeah, man, the story is, I try to give the short story, but I think it's important that people kind of understand. They'll see why I'm so passionate, why I get so fired up. So I started, I guess, my journey and really the beginning of when my passion and just this journey that's been evolving and ongoing of fitness and inner strength and physical and emotional strength started really near the end of 8th grade. Started getting into working out. My older brother was always very intense working out. He would run 3 times a day with our dog. We had a Doberman, and he would just run hard, and he would lift, and he played football, and he was on the wrestling team. And, I was, my thing was kind of just like, had 2 real close friends. We just always hang out. We were into BMX, racing and all this stuff, and just kind of like chilling out. And then my brother joined the wrestling team his sophomore year in high school. And I was 8th grade, and he's telling me about like this most awesome sport in the world. It's so awesome. And
What, jiujitsu?
talking about wrestling.
Was it Aikido?
Yeah. This is 1988. This is like 88, 89. He's telling me about that. So it's like the only jiu-jitsu going on back then was probably Hickson Gracie, right? A couple people out in Cali. By the way, my I'll tell you guys a cool story later, but my buddy trained with Hickson back in those early 90s. Yes, yeah. So I have to introduce you to him. Great guy. His name's John Hines. But my brother had kind of started enticing me that this wrestling thing, you got to be strong, you got to run, you've got to train. And my family, my dad's from Romania, my mom's from Israel. And
interesting background. Romania and Israeli.
Well, my dad moved to Israel. I can't remember how old he said he was, maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. That was when communism was very big when he was in Romania. So they left. And, but, interesting times. He was in the Israeli army. Basically anybody in Israel, once you're out of high school, you go into the army. And so my dad, coming from essentially like this European Mediterranean area, soccer is the big thing. So he had me in soccer.
Yeah.
And I wish, it's like my dad and I had conversations years ago about the training he saw when he was in Romania. And I so wish he knew about these kind of American sports that were in our area. My parents just worked. They woke up early. By the time my brother and I were awake, they were already at work. And my dad would, leave the house at 6 a.m., come home at 6 p.m. My mom, same thing. She was a nurse. So it's like they didn't have the time to research stuff out for us. So he got us involved in soccer. But my older brother was more of like a combative type guy.
Excellent. My kind of person.
Exactly. So he is the guy that really inspired me. He always had those, back in the 80s, it was just these, bullshit bodybuilding magazines, unfortunately.
Flex magazine.
Yeah, it was like muscular development, muscle and fitness, and it was just, the wrong kind of training, and that's what I fell into. And so as I fell in love with training to such a point where it was like I was nonstop going to the gym. I was using all the money I had. I had a paper route. I would mow lawns. And all my money would go into buying bodybuilding magazines, bodybuilding books. My parents we'd go to the mall, and I would just go to the bookstore and sit on the floor and read like the 10, 15, 20 books of bodybuilding. They'd disappear for hours, or I would just ride my bike to the local YMCA. And back then, it was like the old school YMCA's where they had the York barbell equipment in there, and I just trained and copied everything I could, out of these bodybuilding magazines. And when I began wrestling as a freshman, I was on a team with just all experienced wrestlers. I remember, compared to today, there's no freshman team. There's always a JV and a varsity team.
Yeah.
Then I had to wrestle off just to be on the freshman team, and the whole freshman team was this group of guys that had wrestled together for years and years through the rec program. I knew nothing. I wasn't strong. I wasn't physical. I wasn't tough. And
you're a liar,
dude. I was nothing. I was so fucking soft. It's pathetic. So I remember my first wrestle off. I hit a double leg. I lift the guy up. I slam him to his back, and I still remember it like yesterday.
My man.
I slammed him to his back, and it scares me that I slammed him. So I ease up on him. I get him. I had him on his back. I ease up on him. He escapes, and then he pins me in the second period.
Oh no!
My
bastard.
My brother says to me, he goes, one of the teammates, same grade as him, was reffing that match. He goes, I wanted to punch your brother. I wanted to punch your brother in the fucking face for losing the way he did. And then I guess I just kind of went on this streak. I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the physicality, the aggression, and I lost every wrestle off that year. Every wrestle off. I didn't even get one match. So my brother, he was more of a kind of like a forward thinker. He would find what do we do? How do we learn? And he found out that at College of New Jersey, back then it was called TCNJ down in Trenton, was having a intensive camp. And the guy running the intensive camp was John Smith, who at the time was maybe a 4 or 5 time world champion. And, he won a gold medal, and he was training for his second Olympic Games.
Right.
And it wasn't a lot of kids at the camp. My parents signed us up for the camp. And John Smith's like, so, tell us about yourself. And every kid's like, yeah, I'm a state champ from Pennsylvania. I'm a state champ from Iowa. I'm a state champ from here. I'm a state champ from there. Then
this was for serious competitors.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, shit. Everybody is a state champ or a prep national champ or an All-American. Goes to me, I'm like, well, I've only wrestled 1 year, and I never won a match in my life. He goes, well, you're going to start winning now.
Nice.
Powerful.
I remember just getting crushed so bad that during that camp. I remember even I tore my rib cartilage during the camp, and basically we trained 4 times a day. So in the morning would be a run, about 5 miles. Wake up, and I think the run was at like 6:30. Run till about 7:15, get breakfast, and then we had a training session at 9:30, a training session at 12:30, a training session at 3:30, and then another training session in the evening. So
just grueling schedule.
It was just grueling. And then on that third day, I tore my rib cartilage. I was getting just destroyed so bad that the guys in that room just killed me. And I learned, though, from that first camp, just, the beginnings of what it's going to take to be tough, to be mean. And then I went on this mission, but I never fully developed, to make a long story short, I never fully developed the mind, which is the big thing. I trained so hard. It was all physical. I got the physical. I trained 7 days a week. I remember I would train 30 days in a row. I would just keep going and going. Monday through Sunday, go to the gym twice a week, go to wrestle. But I didn't know how to compete. I didn't know how to harness my emotions. I didn't know how to have a game plan of my each match, how to go out and be technical, how to basically utilize my strengths, how to work on my weaknesses.
Wow.
Today there's a lot of opportunity for these wrestlers. They could go to clubs. They could get privates with these coaches. I mean, there's so much opportunity. Whereas back then it was like, you're on your own. And if maybe you have some street toughness, good. you're gonna win. If not, you're fucking screwed. I was that guy that I didn't start developing that mental edge. I don't feel until I was like 19, and I was young. I went into college. I was 17. I turned 18
Wow.
in December. So I always told my parents, I'm like, dude, I think you fucking put me in a grade ahead.
The wrong
I
class.
didn't even know you guys come from this other country and you fucking send me to school. And I always tell people, I go, yeah, in first grade, I didn't know the alphabet. Like, what the hell? My daughter was singing the alphabet when she was like a year and a half. So I remember when my daughter was singing the alphabet, I was like, thank God they didn't get my fucking bad
Genes.
So
what was the turning point in the mental game for you?
yeah, there was multiple turning points, but I remember, I have a lot of memories, and it's this goes to I oftentimes speak about the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. But I remember freshman year in college, I went back to the high school to wrestle, and one of the kids, he won the county title that year, and he became a all-state wrestler senior year. Very tough. I remember I was driving to practice. I was just going to show up and practice. I remember saying, whoever I wrestle today, I'm not going to let them score a point on me, and I'm going to shut them out. I'm going to beat them 10-0 or whatever it was.
Boom.
And I remember just destroying that kid. And I think I had just turned 18, so it was December. I had just turned 18, and I remember it was as simple as changing my mind. I was just refusing to get scored on. I was going to refuse to show him that I was tired. I remember saying to myself, I'm going to score 10 points minimum every match. I remember just destroying that kid.
Wow.
And that kid won the county sophomore, junior, senior. And it was like, man, a big thing amongst athletes, the athletes I train, and athletes, in general, is the mentality. So I started seeing kids that maybe didn't work very hard. They were just street tough. They were just tough. They came from a tougher background and had some tougher times in their life, and they learned to be fighters. And that's maybe not really what I had.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started getting older, 19, 20, early 20s. I was so pissed off at my lack of success that I was like ready to just, compete and go against anybody. So I remember one summer, just like I entered an open wrestling tournament and had a pretty close match with a kid from Rutgers. Mm-hmm. And listen, I didn't start wrestling till freshman year, and I never wrestled in college because freshman year I was like, I'm done with this shit. I just don't want to wrestle. I want to have some success. I was really like down and out on myself. And then I started thinking, man, if I don't wrestle, I'm going to question and, wonder what I could have been. Mm-hmm. I remember thinking about it. And then sophomore year, they had already cut the program. There was a powerful program it was Kane College at the time, not Kane University. Mm-hmm. The head coach resigned. They got a new coach. He quit in the middle of the season, and then that's it. It was over. Mm-hmm. So as I got older, I started kind of getting a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, and I also started just understanding the power of goal setting, the power of the mind. I even just started looking at it in this simple way of, what's the worst that could happen if you go out and fight? Just fight. Just give it all you got. Don't leave anything out on the mat.
Yeah.
So fast forward some years. I'm a teacher. I was like a fifth-year teacher. And so a fifth-year teacher, I'm like 25, 26.
What did you teach? You were like a high school teacher?
Health and phys ed at the elementary school level, and then
sex ed.
Phys ed.
Okay.
What do you guys sex ed? And then I was coaching middle school wrestling, so they kept saying, "We want you to transfer to the middle school.
Uh-huh.
We want you in the school, yada yada." So I was like, "No way! I'm not going to the middle school. There ain't no way." 2 years later, I transferred to middle school, and I fucking hated it so bad.
Yeah, those kids with attitudes, man.
Well, it's not only that. It was like the kids were so there was so much apathy, but it was also the leadership. It was also the school was like old and dingy looking, and nobody took ownership. Like I remember every idea I had, everybody had an excuse for it. I remember I was going for my master's degree at the time, and I was really creative. I was also teaching exercise and fitness at the junior college. I was just working, and I remember my colleagues, the other teachers, called the department chair and complained like, "Oh, Zach is not teaching in the curriculum, blah blah blah." And I was like, "These motherfuckers complaining because I'm doing work and I'm bucking the system, and they want to fucking roll out the ball, and that stuff pisses me off." So,
of course.
to make a long story short, like a year before that, I think I had seen this, and what's so funny? I'm like, I said this would be the short version. The short version. So like a year or 2 years before that, I had seen the documentary Choke.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I saw the documentary with Mark Kerr, The Smashing
The
Machine.
Smashing Machine, yeah.
Nice.
Right. So Mark Kerr being a wrestler, it just inspired me. And just, the way I tell stories is I'm all over the place. So listen to this crazy story. Speaking of Mark Kerr, when I was living with my parents, I think I was still in college or had just finished college. Maybe I was a first year teacher. My neighbor, he was like a strange guy, strange cat. He saw that my younger brother was wrestling. He'd always see his name in the newspaper. And he would see me out in the backyard with the dog, and he brought over like an 8 or 9 VHS package of Mark Kerr. I can't remember. Like it was maybe the Victory. It was like Mark Kerr training. And I remember I put the VHS tape in, and the highlight is like Mark Kerr like hitting a double leg takedown and like beating the shit out of somebody. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what the hell is this stuff? Back then it was called, NHB, no holds barred fighting.
Right.
And it was really strange. He's like, hey, I'll let you have those tapes if your brother comes over and teaches me some wrestling moves. And I remember telling my brother, I was like, dude, do not go to that motherfucker's basement. Like, weird. Like, he was not the kind of guy that wanted to learn any wrestling. So I saw that. Then I see Choke, and I start kind of researching NHB fighting, shoot fighting. And at the time, there was a place in Elizabeth run by Dan Maragliata, who, Big Dan, the ref in the UFC. Yeah. And there wasn't a whole lot of instruction going on there. Kind of show up, and whoever was there would be teaching you stuff. I remember I didn't even know what the guard was, and Dan was teaching a flying arm bar.
Nice. Awesome.
Like, what? Yeah, exactly. I was like, is this the beginner shit? Because if I'm going to make it past this thing. And 2 weeks later, I entered the NAGA World Championships. And when I say NAGA Worlds, like people must be like, oh my God, World Championships? Right. Yeah, there's 12 people in my
Hey, you're like still a world champion.
Championship of like North Jersey or something. There was guys from
Bergen County.
Right, there were guys from like Jersey and New York. And first match, I was just ready to go. I was just like, I'm gonna neck crank somebody because that's what I saw on the bench.
Oh, you're that guy.
Oh no.
I knew how to do, felt very confident on my feet because I was coaching wrestling. I'm wrestling all the time. I felt extremely fast. I was just training differently. And first match, I take the guy down, and I go like backdoor with a low single, and he starts slightly just sinking in a heel hook.
Oh, a heel hook.
Because he fell over me, so I was going backdoor.
That's lovely.
And I kind of panicked and tapped out, which I should not have. I didn't know.
Yeah, leg locks can be scary, especially if you're not exposed to them.
Dude, I didn't even know what anything was. This is 2 weeks in, and it was a no-gi. So I'm like, motherfucker, losing sucks. I hate losing. I'm fucking going to war with whoever I'm going next. So next match, I'm taking the guy. First guy comes out and tries to throw me, and with my wrestling background, I just felt extremely confident with everything. So he tries to throw me, somebody tries to like hit you with like a headlock or a hip toss, you could body lock them and
take them backwards, right?
Yeah, you could take them backwards, or you take their momentum and you throw them to get the takedown.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that's what I did. And then from there, I'm just like taking the guy down, but then he'd get me in his guard. He'd pull guard. He tried to triangle choke me and arm lock me over and over, and I just kept getting out.
Kept blocking everything.
Over and over, yes. So then we're in overtime. I remember when the match is over, I'm like, I'm about to get my hand raised. It's been so fucking long since
no.
Yes, I'm going to get my hand raised. And then they're like, it's an overtime. And the coach at the time, I think he's up in your area now, Eddie Royler.
Rolone?
Eddie Roland. Yes.
Roland.
Yeah. Roland.
Cool dude.
He became like the new coach, and he was kind of teaching us actual moves. I was like, this is amazing.
Right.
Eddie was there, and he's like, oh, fuck, you're in overtime. And they're like, how is he in overtime? He took him down. They go, oh, you had like 30-something near submission attempts on that. Overtime. So I'm like, shit, same thing. I take the guy down probably 2 or 3 times in overtime.
Boom.
Thinking, and then again, I take him down like right near the end of that overtime match. I'm like, they bring us together in the middle, and I'm just, the feeling, I'm like, this is going to be fucking awesome. My hands go up, and then he wins, and I was like,
what
fuck.
the heck?
Yeah. Eddie and somebody else was coaching me. Oh, you know who was coaching me?
Mm-hmm.
Dante
Rivera.
Yeah, Dante, who was on The Ultimate Fighter a couple years back.
Yeah, cool dude.
Yeah, he trains out in South Jersey.
Yes, he's out at Ricardo Almeida's, right?
Correct. Right.
He was driving all the way up to, it was called Team Endgame. And he was coaching me, and he was, I love that guy. He was
awesome,
a great
man.
guy.
Yeah,
Yes.
I actually have a good Naga story as well. And this kind of goes in line. It's funny. It goes in line to what you were saying earlier about your turning point in like in the mental game in a competition. I was like doing, I think it was a Nogi division. I won my first match. I'm in my second match, and like I'm just like, I forget what happened. I think I was just like in half guard on the bottom and just not being active, and it was like 2 minutes into the match, and then I was just thinking to myself, what are you doing? Why are you just waiting? Like, go. Why? You can beat this guy. He's not giving you anything. Like, I got upset with myself mid-match because I wasn't doing anything, and he wasn't doing anything. And then I just, like, it clicked in my head. I was like, what are you doing? Just go, man. Just do something. You could beat this guy. And then literally right after that mental switch, turned on, I exploded on the guy. I wound up sweeping him, get to the top, and I wound up submitting him like within the next 30 seconds. And then I wound up winning the next match and getting to the finals. And then, like, it was funny though that turning point in the middle of the match, like it was this crazy boost of confidence, and like from then on, like really that story that stuck with me for a long time about the mental game and just believing in yourself and trying your hardest. Like you said, what's the worst thing that can happen if you try your hardest?
Yeah, you could walk. I always say it's like, okay, you could walk. Now you could walk tall for the rest of your life. You could walk proud. So that, now we get to the story. It's like, when you're talking about you just change your mind. I saw this Facebook video from the wrestling coach from Ohio, and the beginning, I don't know who it is. It's not Les Brown speaking, but it's like you can change your address, you can change your hair, you can change your spouse, you can change your residence, but you will not change your life until you change your mind. And it's like, if you don't learn to apply that lesson early, you will miss out. There are windows of opportunity in our life, in our lives. We go through these windows. And now that I coach athletes, it's middle school, high school, college, and even some guys that are doing, international competing and, wrestling at the Olympic trials. So it's like you have these windows of opportunity, and you just, if you let them pass you by, like you are not getting them again. So
yeah,
I had
and
lost.
then regret sets in, and
regret is so painful, and so I was so regretting that I lost at NAGA. And then the next, I think 2 weeks was going to be Grappler's Quest Nationals. So I said, I'm going to train I'm going to out train the competition. And I remember I was like getting
Sure.
to the gym.
Mhm.
I'd go from work,
Yeah.
come home, have a little light eating, then I'd go right to the gym.
Nice, man.
I'd work out. Then I'd work out on the mats. I'd like carry the heavy bags. I'd do pull-ups, dips,
Okay.
push-ups.
You were doing your strength and conditioning at that time. Were you like in that world yet, or you're still
I
just
was,
based on wrestling training?
I wasn't. Yeah, I was basing it on wrestling training
Uh huh.
and Dan Gable's philosophy of outwork your competition.
Mm,
So I was
that
just
works.
doing crazy things. So I remember I'd train and
Mhm.
then I would like pick up anything that was in the area. So I'd grab the heavy bag, I'd squat it on my shoulder, I'd do lunges. Then I
Nice.
would, there was dumbbells there. I'd farmer walk them, clean and press them,
Mm.
curl them, and then I would just keep going and going and going
And
until I
how important is that kind of training of picking up oddly shaped objects and exercising with those as opposed to the traditional,
yeah,
straight
that was
bar?
the beginning. That was the beginning of me starting to feel like now I don't just look strong, I actually am strong. I
Mm,
now actually have a type of, back then or even today, people still call it a functional strength.
yeah.
And I did not have that because when I was a bodybuilder, I looked big, but it was just my body was not prepared for the rigors of the sport,
Yeah. For
putting
movement.
awkward positions
Yeah.
and all this. So I was training. And I remember one day I got to, it was a weekend. I got there early
Mm-hmm.
and I was just training my ass off. And then I remember feeling exhausted after I trained. And there was part of my brain that was like, man, dude, you're tired, but don't show anybody you're tired and just get out
Mm,
and do your thing. And one of the guys just went to take a real light trip on me.
mm-hmm.
He like basically, went to heel trip me. He just hit the back of my heel, boom, my leg like hyperextended, and
Oh
boom,
crap.
popped my ACL.
Oh
Wow.
no.
So back then, I didn't know. I don't know what that feels like. I thought maybe my hamstring tore because I heard the pop.
Oh
And
yeah. And you kept going?
no, I was like, boom, fell right back. I was like, oh,
Mm.
fuck, I think I tore my hamstring. And I didn't know what was going on. So that was just training. I was
Sure.
training for the Grapplers Quest Nationals, which was going to be, a national tournament with like 12 people.
You know,
12 people from New Jersey and New York. Who knows what?
you never know. Maybe somebody
So
from
funny.
Connecticut.
Yeah. Nowadays, what's so funny is I think even a couple of years ago, I heard that like you could show up at 9 a.m. and you'll be fucking competing at 11 at night still.
Oh man, it's
Like
Yeah.
there would be like 60, 70, 80 people coming to your, entering your weight class. So
yeah.
after that injury, that was actually the beginning of me saying, how the hell do I look so big and strong, but I'm hurt again? And I had
Hmm.
multiple.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that sent me on I was really a madman possessed. I still am.
Mm-hmm.
How can I help wrestlers, combative athletes not get injured and achieve their maximum potential? And, now I'm super, big thing to me is really teaching these younger kids too, like, how do you take this training and how do you apply it to your life, to your school, to anything you want to be successful at?
That's powerful.
It's so powerful. But what's crazy is, it's connecting to these kids and their parents is so hard now.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that says, man, the next gym I run will just be for wrestlers because they get it. Their
Mm.
parents get and understand that. Listen, it's pretty basic. I need my son to get strong, tough, and fast.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to wrestle. But when you're training these other athletes, they have so much information overload that they become these big excuse makers, or they
Mhm.
think they need all this fancy shit. And it's like, listen, dude, look at the best guys in college football and the NFL. They're squatting, deadlifting, power cleaning, sprinting,
Mm-hmm.
and or you'll have a parent of a basketball player say, I don't want him to get big and bulky and slow down. I'm looking at the kid. I feel like saying, Dad, your son is 150 pounds. I hate to break it to you, but in the next 3 months, in the next year, in the next 4 years, he will not get big and bulky and slow down. And I
Yeah.
think people are so misinformed I don't know if it's because there's too much information or
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
only
that might be it.
who knows?
Yeah.
Like I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big thing. It's a big battle, the bullshit type thing that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do now is I got these two locations, possibly going to open up a third. I don't really know,
Nice.
but my passion is helping this younger generation. I don't train adults. It's all
Oh
middle
wow.
school, high school, college kids.
Nice.
Last year I was at Lehigh training the wrestling team. Would drive very far twice a week to train those guys.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago, the Rutgers guys, I was volunteering with the wrestling team at Rutgers. And, now it's crazy. It's like,
Nice, man.
it kind of happened by accident. Like I was a teacher. I love teaching. I just wanted to help wrestlers. And I started putting out a little bit of stuff on the internet, some articles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach, speaking of wrestlers, every wrestler I have ever encountered was a fast, explosive specimen. What do you attribute that to? I was always curious. Is it the amount of technique repetitions they put in? Is it the plyometric explosive exercises that they're doing? They're all fast. They're all aggressive. I just want, and how can we apply that to a jiu-jitsu guy's training?
You guys are getting, that tends to be this like normal segue for a wrestler. They start losing themselves. They're like, shit, I've competed for a long time. A lot of wrestlers nowadays do not start in ninth grade. They're starting in sixth grade.
Yeah,
and
way earlier now.
Yes, much earlier. So all of a sudden they're not wrestling and they're like, fuck, like what the hell? What do I do? So the natural thing for them to do is go into jujitsu. And the ones that are going into jujitsu are the ones that are highly motivated, meaning there's plenty of wrestlers out there that are fat, slow, weak, and don't give a shit. That's just
like anymore, you mean?
That's any sport. Yep, that's any sport. But that's like those wrestlers when they're done with high school wrestling, like thank God now I can be fat and do nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
You guys are getting the wrestlers who are like, now I want to do the next. This is the next window in my competitive arena of life, and I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
So they've put in that time and that effort and that intensity, and they've been coached in such a way. That's the thing about wrestling is hard work is like the main recipe is like
Right.
So is it so like getting into their specific training, are they big into just live wrestling drills, or is it also like the lifting and like
it all depends on the coach. Nowadays we have strength coaches everywhere. Even if they're not good, they're calling themselves strength coaches. We've got, just like that, there's jujitsu coaches everywhere, but they might be really not very good. But
absolutely.
Or karate or any kind of martial art. Now the best wrestlers, they drill extremely hard. They do fast-paced drilling. It is very, very tough. And that reminds me of like my buddy Johnny when he was training with Hickson. He said for the first 6 months you weren't even allowed to spar. You weren't even allowed to go live. You had to do all technique, and you had to learn. If you learned one submission, you had to learn like 3 escapes or counters to, like 3 escapes, 3 counters to that one thing.
Wow.
And there was like a whole progression, a whole system.
Of course. And in wrestling, you're saying that the hard drilling is the first progression into.
Oh yes, when you start drilling fast, it is. And John Smith taught this to me because he said that if you're drilling the right way, that is the best conditioning. He goes, when you're drilling, if I should be able to walk into a wrestling room, and if I see you drilling, I should not be sure if you're even drilling or live wrestling. That's how fast.
Wow.
So,
That's a jewel. That is a gem.
So I went to his intensive camp twice. Now, the second time I went, he was prepping for his second Olympic gold medal.
Okay.
And he had these 2 wrestlers with him, 2 collegiate wrestlers. I think one was second, the other was third in the country. And they were both his drilling partners, and it was 2 of them unable to keep up with his intensity, meaning one would drill for a minute, then the other guy would come in for a minute, and he was beating the tar out of them.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it was so bad, and I never saw a man with such fire. Like I get goosebumps when I talk about it. I remember when they were drilling, like they could barely stand up
Yeah.
before
Wow.
their
Do
legs.
these
Like
are these drills normally 1 minute of full speed, all out drilling?
there's many different ways to coach. So you could do an I go, you go. You could do two in a row, three, three.
Okay, like so you shoot a single, I shoot a single
Yeah,
type shit.
or I like to do when I was coaching, I would, build it into progressions. That's a big thing I always learned from teaching. I build that into the strength conditioning as well. So let's say I'm teaching new wrestlers. Boom, we learn a double.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to learn a stand up. Okay? Now you hit a double on me. I don't lay on my back. I immediately hit a stand up. As soon as I do the cut drill, I set it up and boom, I hit a double on you.
Boom.
Or
So there's many different techniques in one drill, even though it's focused on one thing.
Chain wrestling, chain drilling. So hit a double on me and immediately go for a pinning combination. Then I immediately do a counter to the pinning combination. Then I do an escape. Then I'm doing a snap and spin. And it's like, the saying is, you do not rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your preparation. You fall to the level of your training. So whenever I see coaches like, we got to rise to the occasion, it's like, okay, maybe you guys could decide right now to fight hard. But if you've been half-assing it, skipping your workouts, you're staying up late, you're not eating the right way, you're not training the right way,
it's going to reflect in your performance.
The cards are stacked against you.
You can have the will to train hard, but just training hard isn't the only thing. You also need to train correctly, the right way, the most beneficial way.
Yep, you got to train mentally. You also got to, as a coach, when you're training wrestlers, you got to kind of feel them out and say, okay, like this kid here, I might need it to give him a day off. Or this kid here, emotionally he's wrecked. Let me just send him to hit a pump-up workout in the weight room to let him feel good, get those endorphins going.
I see.
And I remember doing that when I was at Lehigh. One of the kids was a fifth-year senior. He had transferred in from another program. He was really on that verge of burnout. Maybe even he was burnt out. And I remember one day, I could see it. He was going through the warm-up.
Poor guy.
He was just crushed. And I didn't want to say anything to him and get into his head and just be like, and you don't want to say, hey, you look like shit today.
Yeah, that'll crush his world.
Yeah, so I just said, yeah, man, keep crushing it. Doing awesome. But I knew what I was going to do for him.
Okay.
Right.
He didn't know. So we do our warm-up, and our warm-up was a lot of gymnastics, a lot of jump training, a lot of plyos for the lower and upper body.
Okay.
And it was the warm-up I would take those guys through was awesome. Then I would take them downstairs to the weight room, and all I wanted him to do were the power cleans. So I said, I had him do the power cleans, but I said, dude, I don't want you to go heavier than a plate. Just put on 135 on there.
Okay.
We're doing power cleans and box jumps. I can't remember what it may have been, something like 7 sets of 2 power cleans, 2 box jumps, back and forth, back and forth. He gets the 7 rounds in. He's sitting down, and I walk up to him. I go, dude, that's good enough for today. Go take a shower. Go back to your apartment, and just kick back. Take a nap, and don't lift on Wednesday. I don't want to see you till next week. He looked at me. Sure. I go, trust me, dude. By you resting, you're going to come back stronger. I go, I don't want you to think that you're skipping out. I go, I know what you need right now. And we had already built trust by this time. This was probably 2/3 of the way into the season. And when you're 22, 23, your body doesn't respond the same way as a 19, 20-year-old.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's like those, especially combative athletes. I always tell them, I'll go, okay, you're 14, but your knees and shoulders are like 41.
Yeah.
That's how I try to explain it to those guys. So now what I do is with the training is there's a lot of what's called auto regulation for the experienced guys, meaning if I basically assess everybody, every single workout, from verbal to nonverbal to how they're moving during the warm up, all these things.
Full assessment.
Full assessment.
That's a super coach right there.
Sometimes it's like, okay, normally he squats perfect. His back is flat. Now look at him. His hips are all tight. I see him kind of like making, he's kind of squinting his eyes whenever we did push-ups. And I'm going to walk over to him and down and just be like, hey, man, you all right? How's that shoulder doing? Why don't you, don't do the warm-up, but I want you to spend a few minutes smashing up that shoulder. I want you to do mobility, spend 5 minutes on that rumble roller. We'll take it from there.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm just going to auto-regulate. So when they feel good, I have them training hard.
Nice.
When I see them run down, I back up.
Give them a little rest.
Right, but that's for somebody who I know has been around for a while. Let's say it's a newer athlete and he's new to wrestling or any sport. It's like, listen, dude, you've gotta man the fuck up right now.
He hasn't built the mental toughness yet.
Right. So they're like, everything hurts them. Just like, getting off the couch. It's like, oh, my this, my that.
Coach, my tailbone hurts. Coach, my fingers hurt.
Yes, and I've heard that shit. Did you guys ever see the video with what's his name? Dustin Dennis Clean, where the pussification.
Oh yeah, he's awesome.
He's like, my thing hurts, my this hurts. He goes, your pussy hurts.
So Zach, can I ask you a question? If you can give like a jiu-jitsu guy or a wrestler guy just 4 exercises that he needs to commit to. Let's say he's just he just doesn't have that much time, but he needs 4 exercises. What would they be? Like for a martial art like jiu-jitsu or wrestling that's cool. Like grappling related.
So you know what, I know you guys interviewed my buddy Jason C. Brown, and him and I were speaking about this. We're like, look, dude, if these guys are doing jiu-jitsu so much, you develop a unique kind of strength just from rolling, because you're always grabbing, you're pulling, you're squeezing. Mm-hmm. That's why you look at some of these like Russian, Bulgarian, Romanian wrestlers. Some of them are very big and jacked up. Some of them are more like lanky, wiry looking, but they've got such tendon strength, and they've built their strength through hard drilling, through their warm up, which is gymnastics and jumping and hand walking, and that gets them strong. So let's say somebody did jiu-jitsu. I'd want to see that kind of an athletic warm up. I want to see cartwheels. I want to see hand walking. I want to see some clapping push-ups, some squat jumps, lunge jumps, wall walking with your feet up on the wall where you're walking sideways, left to right, up and down. And then, thinking about jiu-jitsu, athletes, even though, you're on, let's say a lot of people spend time, on the ground, right? In the guard, or they're in your guard. So your posterior is not working as hard, but everything starts from neutral. You start from takedowns, and having a good balanced body is critical. So I'd say some sort of a deadlift exercise, maybe a trap bar deadlift, maybe a straight bar, or a sumo or conventional deadlift, and not necessarily crazy heavy. I like to not kill the deadlift. I always say if you kill the deadlift, it's going to kill you. So I prefer lighter and moderate weights, and doing things like 5 sets of 3, 10 sets of 1 rep every 30 seconds. I'm getting about like 70% of a heavy weight. So some sort of a deadlift, picking something off the ground. That would be number 1.
Okay.
Number 2, definitely a pulling exercise. So some sort of a rope climb, some variation of pull-ups, and we mix our pulling. So when my athletes start getting good experience, let's say they're going to do deadlift plus body weight plus pulling. I'll say you're going to deadlift for 5 sets of 2, but after every deadlift, you're going to do a different body weight pull. You might do an inverted row on the ring. You might do pull-ups, overhand, underhand, mixed grip, close grip. You might do pull-ups with, those thick, the hand grenades, those balls that you grab onto.
Oh yeah, those are tough. Those are really tough.
Yes, you're going to climb the rope. So I might do something like that. I love doing that. Or if they're not doing a body weight pull, a rowing exercise, dumbbell row, kettlebell row. Yeah. Those exercises I think are great. So we said some sort of a deadlift. Some sort of pull. Definitely sled drags. I mean, I think those are tremendous.
Those are killers.
Those are my enemy.
You could sprint with them. You could walk laterally. You could walk backwards. You could walk forwards.
Yeah.
You could attach, a harness, so you're kind of bear crawling with it. So any of the sled drags, I feel, are phenomenal.
And would you say mix it up, like one day push it, one day pull it?
Yeah, always mix it up so you're building balance, so you're not developing overuse. And basically, training should never take away from the sport.
Uh-huh.
So I don't want to kill you in the training, right? I mentioned how I got hurt last time.
Yeah.
Why did I get hurt? Because you get hurt when your body is like, listen, dude, slow down. And if you don't slow down, I will force you to slow down by breaking myself. And there's
Yeah.
probably some genetic components to that. Some people just genetically, they're always hurt. Like they get hurt like tying their shoe. Other people, they do everything wrong. They don't warm up. They jump into jujitsu without warming up.
And they never get hurt.
Right. They eat like shit. They drink a lot, smoke cigarettes, and you're like, fuck, this guy don't ever get hurt.
Yeah.
And I think, we have to play to what we are capable of doing. So I said some sort of a deadlift. I'd love to see a unilateral exercise. So maybe Bulgarian split squats, some sort of lunging exercise,
Okay.
and then some sort of ground to shoulder. Could be a power clean, could be sandbag shoulder, could be keg shouldering. If you, depending on where you live, like if you've got stones and river stones, you could throw the stones over your shoulder. I love doing those kind of things. So a gymnastic style warm up, some sort of a deadlift variation, some sort of ground to shoulder, some sort of pulling, sled drags definitely, and then fifth exercise, unilateral for the lower body. I love Bulgarian split squats because they stretch your hips, they develop ankle and knee stability, they strengthen your legs from front to back. So I think that stuff is powerful. I love farmer walks and all kinds of carries as well. So that stuff's great too. I mean, real basic stuff, basic for the win, man. It's like, that's the shit that counts.
Right, right. All right, here's this next question, one of the grand questions. Can a jiu-jitsu guy compete at a world-class level with just body weight training? With a body weight training program, a kettlebell program?
So wait, say that question again. If I was to put it together or what?
No, can a jiu-jitsu guy compete at a world-class level with just a body weight program?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at Hickson. He never touched weights. And, at the world-class level, it's not so much about world-class strength and conditioning. It's about world-class skills.
Right.
And we see a lot of people that have very, very high skills in many sports training like absolute amateurs. I mean, that's even so you'll see, Olympians training like bodybuilders, but their skills are so high that it overrides their lack of strength conditioning. Like John Smith, I always tell the story. He was in the weight room doing like cable crossovers,
like classic bodybuilder.
Oh yeah, but he was doing it like he was wrestling it. Like he was like hunching over and like it looked like he was fighting the machine. He basically would like destroy anything in his way. Like he was like, if it was tricep push downs, he was like leaning over it and like putting his body into it. It was horrific, if we looked at like proper technique.
Yeah.
He was just attacking it. Now, as a strength coach, I also believe and know that it's truly the ultimate equalizer. You develop a different kind of mental toughness when you challenge somebody outside of their comfort zone of jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or whatever the sport.
Good point.
Yeah, so I'll see things like I'm looking at a guy and I'm like, shit, if only his legs were stronger, he would have finished that takedown. Or he broke mentally and then his body, and then that stressed him out emotionally, causing his body to burn more, right? You always hear like Joe Rogan's like, he had a nervous system dump or whatever he says when he's like,
and just kind of shut down. Yeah.
Commentating. That shit happens. And no matter how fit you are, if you're maybe, let's say you travel to another country, it's a hostile environment. You didn't eat the food you normally eat. Your digestive system's fucked up. But then you're like, fuck it. I'm used to this because I trained with Zach. It was 105 degrees. I was, you start kind of pulling on those experiences to make you stronger. So strength is not just measured in the workout program, the kettlebells, the powerlifting, the strongman. It's measured in a lot of what it will do for the mind and the mental aspect.
Right.
Interesting. Zach, let's say I wanted to get more agile for any kind of martial art. Like as far as agile on my feet, foot agility, lateral movements, forward movements, backwards. What are some things somebody can do, like and can implement into their training?
I would do a lot of reactive drills. So like, people dropping a ball, you're sprinting to it, basic jump rope
Ah,
drills, moving your, learning to move your feet differently with the jump rope.
how about the ladder? Is that a good?
Yeah, even if there's a lot of like buy-in. So if you buy into it and that ladder fires you up and you're like, I'm moving my feet fast, now you have this psychological edge because you've built confidence and now you're gonna,
Mm,
but is using the ladder, does it have anything to do with jujitsu? No, but I don't
No,
I also don't put a bar on my back during jujitsu or out on the football field, but squatting makes me better. It makes me stronger.
sure.
I would definitely, if you need the agility, I would do a lot of like jumping and change of direction. So I would do sprinter jumps where you're jumping, you jump up or you're jumping over objects laterally,
Okay.
front to
Or like a push up into a sprint, right? Something like that.
push up into a sprint. We do like I do sprint training with our guys, but they'll do this. I'll be like, okay, close your eyes, lay on your back, facing the other direction. When you hear my clap, you have to roll to the right. You got it. You have to blast out of a push-up sprint
Ah,
forward.
interesting.
Clap, roll to the left. I might say, do squat jumps.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hear me say go, that's when you land and sprint, or do lunge jumps, or do plyo push-ups. And then they're banging out the plyo exercise. And then they maybe go by my go signal, or they wait for me to clap.
Sure.
I'll start them lay on your back facing left, facing right,
Wow.
on your back, go in a side plank. Like I will mix things up to do that. And
Sure.
sometimes you mix it into the skill work. So let's say maybe you're on your back and you're drilling Kimura, left, right, left, right, left, right, side to side, side to side. Then
Mm.
you get up and then you bang out like 30 seconds of jump rope or a minute of jump rope, or you're doing lateral jumping over things.
Okay.
You could mix it in. So now I'm building in skill work under fatigue and
Mm.
pushing to maintain skill and speed. So there's a lot of ways to do it. It really depends on the training setting.
Okay.
Depends what the person needs.
Definitely just get on your feet and do something. So would you say it's a good idea to work out before you train, or is that
I would
necessarily the case?
that I prefer not to have somebody, do their strength or whatever we want to call it, physical preparation before training. And the reason why is, I increase your chances of injury by fatiguing you. But to me, the most important thing is the sport skill itself. So let's say I was
Mm-hmm.
training you guys, you're like, I want to get strong. I'm like, okay, you guys are going to do your jujitsu. When you're done, we're going to do, a one arm clean and press
Okay.
for 3 reps each side, followed by a rope climb. We're going to do 5 rounds of that. Then after that, we're going to do Bulgarian split squats, coupled with sleds.
And you're saying after you train.
I'll do it after, and I'll be
Okay.
done with you in 15 minutes. Then we'll do recovery. You'll roll out on the foam rollers. You'll stretch. You'll do, massage. You can lay on your stomach. Somebody kind of walks lightly on your hamstrings, your butt, your back, and breaks up some of that scar tissue. So I'm
Sure.
going to build it into the program. If I was training a high school wrestling team, we would maybe do all of our wrestling stuff. Then I'm going to go and do farmer walks and pull-ups. And then another time might just be, hey, we're going to do a one-arm clean and press, but we're going to do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rep range, and then we're going to get a total of 50 push-ups. Then the next time is going to be we're done with practice.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get 10 burpees, and then 10 pull-ups, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. Like I'm going to sneak it in there and build it into the skill work.
Okay.
But if off season, now I've got more time. I could maybe give you a little bit of less time doing the skill work, build on your weak areas. We kind of get more strategic, and you say, listen, I gas out a lot, or my grip goes out on me, or my legs give out on me when somebody's in my guard. So we work that into the programming.
Okay.
Speaking of gassing out, what are some super cardio exercises that you would recommend? Like I listened to, I think, because you send me emails and you were talking about if there's one thing I could do, it would be the battling ropes.
The battling ropes are interesting. When you do them the first time, they really exhaust you. then you start getting proficient at them. They don't challenge you as much.
Right.
So you got to find, different ways. So when I do the battle ropes, if I use them, I like to do like 20 or 30 seconds or 20 or 30 reps and then do another one and another one. So we'll go for like a minute, 2 minutes. So we'll do slams, then we'll do side shuffle with slams, then we'll do lunge jumps with slams, then we'll do side to sides, which it's like it looks like you're doing a hip toss and you're throwing the rope over left and right.
And what kind of rep range or time would you recommend?
Go explosive. Well, it depends because jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of kind of like you have to remain calm. So maybe you're just not as intense, but you're kind of rhythmic. And then you might do like 20 seconds rhythmic, 10 seconds explosive, or there's so many ways. Like I remember Louis Simmons telling me when he was training Kevin Randleman in the early days of UFC, and he would go to Brazil to do no gloves NHB.
And Kevin Randleman was a specimen.
Yeah, so Kevin Randleman was in his freshman year at Ohio State, he was a national runner-up. Sophomore and junior year, he won the nationals at Ohio State. Senior year, did not wrestle. So he was extremely physical. But he trained very much like a bodybuilder until he went to Westside Barbell. And Louis would do things like for 10 minutes, he would do a barbell complex. So he'd do like 205 pounds because that was his weight class. He would do a clean and press, then a hang clean, and then maybe a push press. And then he'd put it down, and every minute on the minute he would do that. Or he saw Randleman Randleman didn't have jiu-jitsu skills. So he would put Randleman on his back, and Randleman would like
fight to get up.
What's that?
He would fight to kind of get up.
He would fight to get up, and he would also like have him do like 4 minutes of dumbbell benching, 5 minutes of dumbbell benching with like 40 pounders to develop the endurance in his shoulders and arms.
Push your opponent off,
10 exercises, 1 minute at a time. So he would do squats, then he would do battle ropes, then he would do a sled drag, then he would carry a keg around the gym, then he would do push-ups, then he would do a ab exercise, then he would do a farmer walk. Like everything was for a minute.
Wow.
So he's developing kind of like go power. So there's so many different ways to work it in. And a lot of times I sneak in the jump training into our warm-up. So our warm-up, we'll do all the gymnastics work, light calisthenics. And then I might say, we're going to do, 4 exercises, 4 reps, 4 rounds. So we're going to squat jump, lunge jump, do an explosive pull-up, like a chest-to-bar pull-up, then a clapping push-up. So that's 4 exercises, 4 sets, 4 reps. And I just use those low numbers because you want low numbers for power, so you're not pacing yourself. I'll say you're going to do 4 rounds in a row. We're going to now build power endurance. If it's a beginner, you're going to do 1 round, you're going to rest a minute. If you're intermediate, you'll do 2 rounds, rest a minute, 2 more rounds. I remember when I was at Lehigh, I would do things like, you guys are going to do 2 power cleans, 2 box jumps, 2 plyo push-ups, 2 chest-to-bar pull-ups. So it was like 10 sets.
That's rough.
Right. So what they built up to was power endurance. So they were moving moderate weights, very explosive. And what did it train them to do? Train them to be explosive for extended periods of time. Because, like what I was saying, it's like if you train slow, you'll be slow. Train fast, you'll be slow. But you also must do the sports skill at some higher speeds. So my buddy, when he was with Hickson, he goes, man, we used to do a lot of like 100 rep skill things. So we would do like 100 triangles, 50 to each side.
Wow.
And he goes, we would just hammer that technique.
Just building some grueling conditioning under technique.
That shit was the best. He goes, if anything was the best conditioning, it was doing the sport itself at high speed.
Yeah,
so
doing
for
100
me,
triangles will get you really strong.
Oh man, your abs, your just the constant switching of the direction. So I believe. So let's say like I see a wrestling coach, or I train my wrestlers, and they're like, oh, my legs are so sore. The coaches have us running. Why are you running? It's wrestling practice. Oh, everybody's out of shape. Well, those motherfuckers should have showed up in shape.
Yeah.
And that kids, the not so serious ones, or I'll blame it on the coaches. If you're not a good leader, you're not inspiring your kids. You're not building relations with
Very
maybe
good point.
local coach. So if I was the wrestling coach, I would find the local wrestling club and build a relation with them. I would find a local strength coach, build a relation.
Yeah.
I would I would make sure we're always doing stuff. So when the season comes, we've done the work. You know, the hay's in the barn. Now we're just dialing it in. But these kids, I don't want my guys to run. I'll just drill. That's going to be our conditioning. And I'm getting them better at wrestling. Why do the wrestlers have to go running for half an hour?
Right.
Run at home if you need to go running, but it's wrestling practice.
Absolutely. Hey, Zach, we're running out of time. We did a nice, good, solid hour, and that's kind of our limit. But thanks for the wealth of knowledge. And do you have any parting words about what people they should definitely do? If they're not doing it, you have to do this. If you're not doing this exercise, you better get your ass in the gym and do this exercise or do this activity, whatever it is. You have any parting words?
Stop being pussies.
That's always my advice. The other thing would be, if you're going to train hard, you must recover hard, meaning you got to take care of your health, because especially the guys in their early 20s, I was there. You're just indestructible. You feel like nothing could stop you and nothing can stop you. Then you get to your mid or late 20s and you get this one little thing. You're like, my elbow kind of hurts, whatever. I'll just fucking grind through it. Then you're like, dude, I can't bend my arm. And
right.
Things don't happen by accident. They just accumulate over time. You think it happened just because of, oh man, we rolled really hard yesterday, but it's because you didn't pay attention to your recovery. So I'm going to really encourage, learn about mobility, learn about recovery, learn about using compression, learn how to utilize nutrition to heal your body, managing your lifestyle. The best thing, the best gift you could give yourself is just being healthy, because when you're healthy, you cannot train. And you don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, this always would happen with a wrestler. I remember he was a really good wrestler, but then after he'd finish the season, he'd disappear for 3 months, maybe even longer. He'd come back in the summertime. It's like, dude, do you really need fucking 4 months off? And then he'd get hurt in the season, and then he'd come back to the gym. So it's this is the whole problem, bro, is detrain yourself. You never do any recovery work. You're never fully ready. You're always kind of getting back into shape. And it started catching up with him. Maybe at the certain level he would win and dominate, but then he got to college, and it's
you need that rest.
Crushing you. He didn't follow the lifestyle. And that's what it's, my advice is everything's about the lifestyle. So it's not just the jiu-jitsu, just the wrestling. It's everything is your training. It's, I tell my athletes, I go, it's the stuff you feed your brain, the books you read, the movies you watch,
the nutrition you eat.
Right. The food you choose to eat or not eat, the inspiring documentaries that you think you're too busy to watch. And it's
watch,
the
choke.
Absolutely,
man.
All of these things that kind of add up to the whole piece, to the whole, putting that puzzle together.
Okay.
So I'm really emphasizing that, jiu-jitsu and combative athletes look at the whole picture, to optimize versus just the training, because everything you do is your training, actually, everything.
Absolutely. Zach, how can people reach you? What are your websites? What are your social media handles?
Yes. Undergroundstrength.tv is the blog, which is the Zach Even-Esh site. And if they Google Underground Strength Coach, they will find a lot of stuff. And then my social handles are linked. I'm on Snapchat. That's not on my website now, but Z Even-Esh is Instagram, Twitter. So ZEVENESH. I put out a lot of cool stuff for people, so they'll love it.
Totally, man.
Definitely. Thank you again, man. We really appreciate everything, all the knowledge, all the stories, all the inspirational things you've said on this podcast. We really appreciate you coming on. We really hope to talk to you soon, my friend.
Cool. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, my man. Peace.